way better. But that was nearly a decade ago. And if the current version of Conor is better than he was at the peak of his stardom, he's not shown it to us at all. With just 4 fights in the 8 years since he hoisted those 2 titles into the air at Madison Square Garden, titles he would never defend, Conor has lost 3 times. His only victory over Donald Cerrone in what was essentially a warm-up fight, but one that frustratingly led to nothing, as we would not see him in action again for a whole year. It's not just the losses, though, but the complete lack of activity.
My comeback is scheduled for the end of the year.
This year, by the end
Not
of
this
the
year. He won't fight this year.
When he hit his peak in 2016, who could blame the guy for fighting Floyd, for focusing on other ventures outside the cage, for getting lost in the lifestyle of the rich and the famous? And yes, a major injury was also a factor in all of this. But given how much time has passed since UFC 205, it is very hard not to be frustrated by what could have been, given how massive the expectations were at the heights of his stardom. Number 2, Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's kind of crazy how distant a memory Khabib's title reign seems now. In part, I think because COVID felt like a decade in and of itself, but also because the sport moves on so rapidly at the very top. Right now, as I write these words, Khabib is 35 years old. On the date of his final lightweight title defense, he'd just turned 32. We're talking about a fighter that up to that point had lost a single round in his career. His 3 defenses, all finishes. A perfect 29-0. Now, it's true that injuries had plagued Khabib his entire career, and as such, he wasn't as active as he would have liked to be. But even if you had a single defense every year since he retired, that still easily makes him the greatest lightweight of all time, and it wouldn't even be close. His retirement, given the tragic circumstances of his father's passing due to COVID and everything that meant to his career, was of course entirely understandable. Some things are more important than our ambitions. But as a fan, when somebody who is that great retires in their prime at the very top of the sport, when it looked like nobody would ever be able to stop them, it's hard not to think about what might have been if things were different. Number 1, Brock Lesnar. Not sure any fighter has ever done more in less time than Brock Lesnar. Now yes, he came into the UFC with built-in star power, but there is no denying that prior to Ronda and Conor, Lesnar was easily the biggest draw the sport had ever seen. And to win the title in just his 3rd UFC bout, after only a little more than a year in the sport period, is pretty goddamn incredible. And it is really unfortunate that his health would completely destroy his MMA career. It started when he was still champion. His struggles with diverticulitis would delay his bout with Shane Carwin for a whole year. After that amazing victory, we wouldn't see Brock in the octagon for 15 months, as he would have continued issues related to his stomach.
I had 104 temperature and felt like I was shot in the guts, and I had a rupture of one of my diverticuli, which means I had a hole in my stomach.
The eventual bout with Cain Velasquez would see Lesnar lose the title and then 6 months later require major surgery.
I had 12 inches of my colon removed, and so I don't even know how many months that has gone by, and here I am.
He was simply not the same Lesnar in the return bout against Alistair Overeem, and retired as training had become too difficult due to his ailments. A return to the WWE further solidified his decision to step away from the sport, but for his 200 appearance. Brock was still very green by the time he retired, and given how successful he was, with such little experience on top of not being in good health, I cannot imagine how amazing his career might have been if circumstances were different. Not to mention, had he entered the UFC immediately after his collegiate wrestling career instead of the WWE. Could Lesnar have been the greatest heavyweight ever? Unfortunately, we will never know, and that is what makes his short career so frustrating. But you know who's frustratingly great at what they do all the time? The editor of this video, Max Randall. Dude always bangs out incredible edits. Please follow him on all his socials, and go check out his awesome YouTube channel. A big ol' shout to our channel Hall of Famers. Truly could not do it without you. You guys are the best. Thank you for your support. If you'd like to be a channel member too, hit the join button.